I want to share a little bit about what I'm finding more and more about my noble self and my shadow self. I think one of the things that has been really important in my journey, and probably if you're not familiar with noble self, shadow self, I'd recommend you watch some of my videos, but briefly, my noble self is my soul. All of us have this. Noble self is soul, and the shadow self is ego. And what I found when I first kind of recognized what was inside of me was that my shadow self, who has been in my life to protect me for most of my life, who's been in charge. So much of my decisions, much of my reactions to people were based on defending myself or keeping myself safe or getting the best thing for my family, just being very much in kind of a place of like making that all happen. And when I figured out that she was running the show, I realized that that wasn't her job. The ego or the inner child figured out long ago in order to stay safe that she kind of needs to be in charge in some way. Now, she might show up differently in each of us. In some of us, she's learned how to be perfect. That was my thing. In other people, she learned how to be super feisty and like ready to pounce and fight at any moment. She might have learned to be the peacemaker, the person in the family who was always just making sure everyone was okay, and maybe even comedic relief, right? Kind of the clown of the family. Or she may have been the person that played it cool and pretended like nothing bothered her ever, and she's fine and she doesn't need anyone and nothing impacts her and all of that. Those I find to be the four major personalities of the shadow self. There might be more, but those are the ones I keep running into when I'm working with my clients. And that persona was created to keep us safe. We latched onto one that seemed to serve us well in our family system, in our life, maybe in our ongoing relationships, at work, wherever it might be. And so she got really used to keeping us safe and being in charge and making life happen in whatever one of those personalities. And every once in a while, we'd hear the noble self, right? The soul. Maybe we'd hear it if we were a religious person when we were in prayer. We'd connect with her. Or maybe we would notice inklings from her that would say, this person is giving us weird vibes. Or this person I really like this person. There's something that resonates with us. There's something here that really lights us up. And we'd listen to that sometimes, and then, maybe we'd have a new pastime and then get back to our busy lives and kind of go back into like the form and function of life, right? So one of the things that I've noticed in this process is that when I figured out the shadow was in charge, I began asking her and working with her to understand the strength and the nobility of the noble self. The intuition, the soul, the spirit, the connection with the divine, and I started strengthening her. So the noble self, in order to strengthen her, she needs to be given fuel. She needs to be given love. She also needs to be given spaces and places where she feels connected to the Creator. Whether that's connecting through her senses, enjoying the beauty of something, or the taste of a food, or the movement of her body, or a live concert, or spending time with family, or writing or reading or doing art or whatever, but some of the things that we in our busy society tend to put last. Those are luxuries. When I get through my day, when I get through feeding the kids, when I get through then maybe I'll have some time for some of my noble self stuff, but that's backwards. Because if we keep doing that, then she never gets to be in charge. And she has everything she needs. She knows what we're supposed to do in life. She knows where we're supposed to be. She knows how to heal the wounding of this shadow that's been just working hard and trying to make life happen. So there's what I call then at that point, okay, my noble's getting stronger because I'm actually consistently giving her what she needs. I'm also spending time with my shadow self, consistently helping her to heal, listening to her emotions, not making her wrong, not fixing her, just for the first time in her entire life, listening. Because she created this whole world when no one was listening, no one was paying attention, and no one was taking her into account. And so we learned not to do that ourselves. We learned to ignore her and to not take her into account. She starts to stop needing to be in charge as much, and she starts seeing how amazing the noble is. And I remember doing this very specific process where I specifically sat down and asked my shadow self to leave the throne and have my noble self be coronated. And that may sound like a little bit of like a symbolism, but in general, literally, I had a conversation between my noble and my shadow self. Many of my journals are filled with them talking to each other, talking and understanding each other and speaking and saying the things they need to say to each other because they've been so locked outside of themselves. Shadow was in charge. She was never meant to be in charge. She doesn't have the skills to be in charge. It's like putting our inner 6-year-old in charge, right? She's going to get angry and tantrumy and sabotagey, and I just want my toys and I'm going to keep everything safe. And the noble self's like, hey, y'all, there's a guidance, creator telling us kind of some things that might make us feel better about life and might make us understand ourselves better and remember that we are divine and noble, and we are amazing. And so in that journaling, I asked the shadow self to release the reins, begin to trust the noble. That was a process because my shadow self had been ignoring the noble and she didn't want to speak up. And my noble wasn't quite confident in herself yet either, because intuition, and I live in a society that tells me not to listen to that, and how do I do all this, etc. Process until eventually the dynamic shifted and my noble self is now on the throne. Now, any good king or queen or non-gender nobility that you'd like to be has a set of advisors. The shadow self is on that board of advisors, along with our mind, our logic, our past experiences, our inner circle, books we've read, things we've thought about, people we follow. We've got a group of advisors, but who is the king or the queen? Our noble self. So the advisors are giving us information. We're still listening, right? That shadow self is really good about telling us when there's danger, telling us immediately when there's danger, because that's its job. So if we say, I don't want to listen to you, sometimes we get in situations that we should have listened to that gut feeling that told us, that wasn't good for us. That was maybe a little dodgy or scary, or when we look back and go, I knew it from the beginning. We have to listen. But again, with that listening requires then the noble self to be in charge and to make the final executive decision or noble decision or whatever you want to call it. So this idea and this understanding of this process of switching who's in charge, but keeping our shadow self around because she's really strong and smart. So I want to share a quick story to illustrate this. So just recently I was looking at potential property for my business, looking at running some events out of it. Super excited. It looked amazing. Spirit, my intuition was in line saying, this is the place. We need to do it and make this happen. All good. Went there, checked it out a couple times. So it's, super logical, making it make sense, etc. And then I was like, yep, this is the place. And I sent a message and I said, yep, I want it. And they said, okay, sounds great. Let me get you in touch with the owner who is going to do the contract, set it up. And this was a situation where I was just going to be renting it for short term as the guy was trying to sell it. And maybe, if I liked it enough, we would look at buying it as well. So it was just going to be a month-to-month contract, et cetera, et cetera. We got on the phone. The guy was super pleasant. He was saying all the right things. He was super excited about what my business was going to be doing, what we were going to be doing out of it, et cetera. But underneath all of it, all of the pretty facade, my shadow self said, we know this energy, it's negative, and it feels very close to narcissistic energy. Now, in the past, I thought I saw narcissism everywhere. I was in a relationship with a narcissist for many, many years, and I was a little trigger happy, I guess, with like, there it is. Now it is in many places, so don't get me wrong. But I was a little reactive to that. But as she's settled down, as my shadow has settled down and been healed from so much of that, she still has the instinct to know immediately, discernment. Something here is not right. So I get off the call and I tell him I'm going to send him some documents to, get things moving or whatever. And I sat with myself for a little bit, and my noble self is like, Spirit's been telling us this is amazing. But then Shadow sat there and said, yes, but this is what we're hearing. And my noble self, because there is trust both ways now, shadow self trusting my noble is super important, but so is important that my noble self trusts my shadow when she sees something awry, especially when my noble self is excited about a thing and wants to do a thing and thinks it's going to be the best thing ever. She's the voice of reason based on experience and knowledge and not over reactivity, who says, this is what it is. And immediately my noble self said, oh, yeah, we don't want any kind of energy around our business that isn't what I call clean. I knew I could handle him. I've handled many narcissists, but I didn't want that kind of energy to be a distraction from the work I was trying to do. Like, just because I can endure it doesn't mean I have to do it. Like, why would I do that again, as I did for decades? So I wanted to share the story because it's a very clear example of how our noble self on the throne has these advisors, and our healed shadow selves are beautifully in the right place to give us the right instruction. But remember, of course, this is a process. I won't say long. We don't know how long it takes. Every person's different. But it is a process. But we never kick out, exclude, or push away the shadow self, either because we know she needs to be healed and listened to, etc., but we still make our decisions when she's ready to move with us, or because we know you're still wise. You do know how to navigate this world, the scary parts of this world. The noble self is going to be up in the clouds and really excited about things and all that kind of thing, and the shadow is going to keep us grounded. So we need both, right? So I want to share that story with you guys today. I hope it helps in some way in your understanding of your own internal dialogue of your noble and shadow self. If you feel like you're fairly early on in the process of understanding who these two are, I have other videos about it and other resources as well that you'll see linked in those videos. So I hope this helps you, and I send you tons of love and support, and until next time.